Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with a little bit of, this is going to be a very short rant or discussion. We'll call it discussion. It's a nicer word than rant. But anyway, this is, I just woke up today to see the daily change. I always check this. This is one of my routines I do. When I wake up in the morning, check my Facebook, check my Twitter, check my email, then go and check the movers and shakers. And I woke up to this monstrosity in Modern, which is a mass buyout in a lot of the cards that are not being reprinted in Modern Masters 2017. Of course, I just did a video on it, talking about how I think that a few cards are going to start to go up in value. Boy, do I disagree with how fast these cards are going up. If you have any of these cards right now, sell them. I say that they've already gained a ton of value. Now, because I'll show you in a second why I really think that this is not something that is sustainable. 2016 was a crappy year for Modern. Let's just repeat that. 2016 was a terrible year for Modern staples. If it wasn't in a new deck, it went down. We're talking about decks that won Grand Prix. We're talking about decks that have been the staple of all staple decks since the beginning of Modern. Their cards went down during 2016, and there's a few exceptions like new decks like Bant Eldrazi or Eldrazi Tron, or I'm trying to think what other some of these few decks that just like Scred had some good increases because it finally won a Grand Prix. But even now Scred has stabilized. Its prices have gone a lot down since its huge spike in when it won that Grand Prix. People are going insane. Speculators are going to get burned again. And it's funny because how many times are speculators going to be able to be burned and still speculate? I know that there was mass profit margins made during Modern Masters 1 and people speculating on the format back then. And then I think that was really the birth of when investing in Magic cards went from being an incredibly rare breed. There was very few Kevins out there in trade groups. I was the only one that even seemed to plan for the future back then. And it was so sustainable for me because I could just run on the most clear trends ever, rotations and new decks coming into the format and things like that. So, but nowadays it just seems like speculators just like buy everything and it jacks up the price on insanely unproven decks or unproven formats. So if you can see right off the bat, Merchant Scroll up $28. The Homelands one are still around $4, but a massive buyout from 8th edition for Merchant Scroll. Merchant Scroll is usually a 1 of or a 2 of in Storm. It sees no play anywhere else. Like people are talking about why. I think who was it that tweeted out that it's like, why is this card not being played in Modern? Because it's been even in Vintage and Legacy have seen Merchant Scroll because it's a tutor for instances and sorceries. The one that I always see it is in what's the blue-red commander deck? People love that in the blue-red commander with the experience counters. But other than that, it just doesn't see a ton of play in any other deck but besides Gift Storm. So I think that is a deck that hasn't put up the greatest numbers. Every now and again it will sneak in the format. Compared to other degenerate decks, Storm is less degenerate. Just it's a lot easier to hate out, especially with people running a lot of the Chalice of the Voids and the Relic of Progenitus, and even like Scavenging Ooze can be tough for those particular Storm decks to push through. But $29 for a Merchant Scroll, that's absurd. Even the $4 that sort of price increase is just I think the whole business model of buying everything out and sitting on it for years at a time is just way too volatile with the amount of reprints that Wizards has shown that they're going to reprint. So I mean, it's just going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy when speculators speculate themselves out of a sustainable business practice. Because now this looks to, when Wizards sees this, like, oh wow, we can now print Merchant Scroll in a set and it's going to sell. We can now print this in a set and it's going to sell. And it's just going to lead to way more reprints, rather than fun cards being reprinted in dual decks or other things. It's just, oh, here, let's throw this money card in this dual deck and it will sell. So I think that if you have any of these cards that are spiking up, Modern is so unproven right now that this for risk's sake, I would get out of them. So I think that here's what the speculators are banking on. They are banking on that Modern Masters 3 is going to create so much hype, like Modern Masters 1 did, that all of these players are all of a sudden going to gravitate over to Modern from Standard and start playing Modern in just waves, and all the local game stores are going to fill up playing Modern. And we did not see that in 2016. We saw a huge drop-off in Modern players, or a stagnation. And a stagnation does not breed growth. A lot of people that do play the Modern format already have decks, already have a lot of these cards. These were the budget cards before a lot of these other cards were reprinted. And it's just insane to me to see these overnight, that people are just sinking so much money in these particular cards. The one that strikes out here is Thoughtseize. This is what happened. This is the exact same thing what happened with Thoughtseize right here. They anticipated that it rotated out. Where did it rotate out? Right here's where Thoughtseize rotated out. And speculators started buying back up cards. Yeah, right here. Buying back up cards in anticipation that Modern would be this really great place to sink your money. That, Modern was just going to explode and all the players after rotation are just going to go into Modern. And since February of last year, it tanked. It was the worst, one of the worst speculations that the vendors had. I got out in the $18, traded every Thoughtseize I had, and I said pick them up again about right here. I think it was 2 weeks ago in the Market Monday, because I'm saying, okay, the one thing that Thoughtseize has going for it, it's in a lot of the decks that are gonna get a lot of reprints, like the Tarmogoyf and the Death Shadows and the Liliana, that a lot of people will start to build these decks now that they become more affordable. And Thoughtseize is really good versus Eldrazi right now, where Inquisition is not the greatest versus Eldrazi because it misses the Thought-Knot Seer and the Reality Smasher and the Endbringer. So a lot of people are gravitating more over to Thoughtseize than the Inquisition. Plus, Inquisition got a huge reprint. So people want to pick up both their playsets, they'll pick them up. What I expected to see was a reversal of this trend, a slight slow growth, because there are so many stinking Thoughtseizes out there in existence. Theros was printed more than any set. I mean, it's right on par there with Khans of Tarkir and everything. I mean, this card was everywhere. It was in the Mutavault Thoughtseize pack rat deck, and that's why I went up to $20, because demand was there from 2 formats. Now demand is really only there from 1 format, and I just don't see this huge, if this even goes up even more, I don't see that sustainable, and we're going to see some price corrections here quite soon. So this just baffles my mind that people are thinking this is Modern Masters 1 all over again. This is not Modern Masters 1. This is Modern Masters 2. Where people get excited for a few months and they're like, yeah, Modern still sucks. We're going to, the people that play Modern. They have their decks. And I don't know. I just do not see this as a sustainable business model for these type of cards. So you see, I picked Fulminator Mage in my video last week as the card that was going to go up the quickest. And again, I thought that we'd see a reversal of this slow trend down to a slow trend up. But people are buying this card out. Speculators got burned on Fulminator Mage last time around when they tried this. See, it hit like in a main deck here. Boom, went crazy up. Then there just wasn't enough demand to justify it. And it went right down to even lower than the first buyout clear back here. Or it almost hit prices. Yeah, it really was almost down to this pre-first, or I guess second spike. So there's a first spike. Clear back here. Just because of how much of these copies exist from Modern Masters 2. And now people are just in anticipation. So this is basically a bet that Modern is going to double. Because here's the demand for Modern right now, for Fulminator Mage. So this is what they're hedging on. That Fulminator Mage is going to, or Modern as a format, is going to double in popularity. That is completely insane. It is not going to double in popularity. There are still some huge holes for people getting into Modern. One is the price barrier. Now there's not going to be any sort of price decrease with speculators getting insanely greedy. and you know, what is it? Counting their chickens before they, or counting their eggs before they hatch, or chickens before they hatch. Yeah, that's the expression. Where now they've just shifted the price from, you know, the Tarmogoyfs and the Lilianas over to now Fulminator Mages and Thoughtseizes. So now it's going to be the exact same amount of money to get into these decks that people wanted to get into, and it's just going to, it's not going to be Modern Masters 1 all over again. I don't know. Modern Masters 1 was a very, very unique time period where Modern was this format that just was on fire. People, it was the biggest craze in Magic. Everyone wanted to play it, and everyone wanted to pick up the cards, and that's how the prices just went insane on these type of cards. I remember that time period. I was in that time period. I was in that craze. All of my friends were in that craze where they just desperately wanted to pick up all the pieces and build a bunch of Modern decks. And as it slowly stagnated out, which I still think that Modern is insanely stagnated with the no vision, the lack of vision, the no real set in stone rules of what they want Modern to be. And then people get frustrated and they inevitably turn back to Standard or turn back to Commander, or look back to New Frontiers and look for Frontiers to be a format, because it is a huge price barrier from going to Standard to Modern, and a huge frustration period. So I don't think it's going to convert new players like it used to convert. I think a lot of new players are going to go over to more Commander or just stick with Standard for the time being, just because Wizards seem to be pushing it. Remember that Wizards recently eliminated so many Modern tournaments. There really isn't even a format now with a lot of a venue with a lot of camera time. There will be a couple Grand Prix here and there, but no Pro Tours. We used to see these huge spikes. These were like after Pro Tours. They weren't after Grand Prix. Grand Prix can have a minimal effect, but the maximum effect that a format can have is the spotlights on Pro Tours and the spotlight on Team Worlds and things like that. So just check out a few of these other All Is Dust. That does make sense because it is starting to be played in a deck that is going to be Tier 1. Same with Through the Breach. Through the Breach is kind of a scape shift. Through the Breach type archetype. You also see Through the Breach in Goryo's Vengeance. So it hits 2 decks, sure. I can sort of see this, but again, I think the trajectory should be slower than just this mass buyout. Leyline of Sanctity, this card too was reprinted in Modern Masters 2. Boom, just shot up in value with people in anticipation that it's going to insanely go up in value. So let's just keep going down the list here. You can see that all of them, even Dark Confidant. Hey, look, my Hardened Scales went up. What is Archive went up for? Is there some sort of Commander deck that really wants to gain double life and draw cards now? I love this card for Commander. It's a casual card I think should go up. Wow, even some of these from Modern or Masters are going up at the moment, which is, yeah, that is interesting. So yeah, a lot of these cards have just started to push up in value, push up in value, and I just don't see any real demand here. It's just they're hedging. They're trying to speculate on the fact that Modern is gonna have this insane increase of people wanting to pick up all these other cards. So they open up a Liliana, like, I'm gonna build Jund now because I have Lilianas. I don't know. I really warn people from that, because let's just check out one of the most stable cards of all time, which is Goyf, and see the trajectory. I think that if any card represents the 2016, it is Tarmogoyf. So here's 2016. Let's start at the start of 2016. It goes from 155 all the way down. This is the first, all the way down to 120. So let's look at the Modern Masters 2 one. I think this one has a little more stable trajectory, but we go back to January. Here's January, 148, and it stabilized all the way down to 124, a $20 decrease in one of the most consistent cards of all times in Modern Masters. Just in the entire, let's just go over to the metagame for the decks that see play in Modern, and you can pick any deck. Here, let's put Grixis Delver right off the top here. Grixis Delver. Let's go to Snapcaster Mage, which had an insane buyout at the start of 2016, and you can see exactly what happened to even Snapcaster Mage. So 2016 comes around, it spikes up a little bit. It loses all of its value that it gained in 2015 by the end. I know that they announced Modern Masters about here, so people were in anticipation starting to sell off. But before Modern Masters was even announced, Snapcaster Mage was starting its trajectory down. Again, one of the staples in the format could not hold its value. Let's go over to, let's check out another deck here. All right, so Junk, this is perfect in Oh no, let's look at Affinity. Affinity is the most staple of all staple decks. So let's just look at good old Arcbound Ravager. Arcbound Ravager at the start of 2016, it did spike up, hit its spike, and lost all of its value from that spike because of was how bad Modern was in 2016. So again, I just don't see the justified reasoning for these buyouts. I think speculators are going to not only burn themselves, but burn everyone, burn the momentum of Modern. They're counting their chickens before it hatched. So I think this is going to lead to frustration now. And Modern Masters 2 is now a better gig to buy than Modern Masters 3. And it's not even out yet. It's not even out. So usually I'm on the side of like, hey, it's we're in a free market, a capitalistic society, anything goes. Speculators are actually good for the economy because they make sure that there is cards in circulation, not just rotting in binders everywhere, and they stabilize the price quicker than if we just let the chaotic market of just pure buying and selling off of a casual level happen. You'd see bigger spikes and bigger valleys, I what you want to call it, bigger plateaus, or bigger peaks and valleys than you'd see with the speculators really stabilizing it. But in this case, this is just speculation gone completely awry here. This is just people going in insanity with their buyouts. And these are big companies like the Star City Games that can stick a ton, we're talking thousands upon thousands of dollars, into particular cards in anticipation that they'll make profit in 1 to 2 years. I hope they get burned. I hope they get so burned that they lose another, 100K on this type of stuff, because this is what happened to their investment in 2016. They got burned. They did get burned. The numbers show that they did. And how long is this going to be a sustainable business model? How long can they take these hits and continue to not make money on their chaotic and incredibly risky speculations? So let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Is this justified? Is there demand? Is there true demand? What is going on in your play groups? Because still in my play groups and people that I communicate with, Modern is still Modern. I mean, it's still the same old format where, yes, it's exciting now that you can play Lilianas if you've never been able to play 8-rack before. I mean, that's what I was looking forward to be able to, sweet, I can finally, instead of playing a budget 8-rack, I can get some Lilianas and shove them in my 8-rack. Or, wow, that sounded dirty. But other than that, I don't think that anyone it's really pushed people like, I'm going to play Modern now. Yay! I mean, besides the fetch lands, that's the biggest. Oh, speaking of fetch lands, look at this monstrosity. Look at these just go up too. Where is this gonna? These are still. Khans of Tarkir was printed into oblivion. Everyone has these cards. Who is going to all of a sudden jump into the modern market that doesn't have polluted deltas? I know I might be wrong here and just really underestimate the power of mass buyouts and the power of just the craze, but it just seems to me like this is a pure case of people counting their chickens before they hatch and getting burned because they really did not soak in the reality of life is that Modern is still a terrible format, and Modern and Wizards cut the entire coverage of this Modern format. Anyway, comment section, let's argue. Let's get into a heated debate about this. Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.